anyway, she's an author, ghostwriter, who can see dead people, and her family owns a funeral parlor, and they're like her dad and like her sister, who she's kind of estranged with, work in the death business, and she hasn't been home to like see, like she hasn't been home to her hometown in like 10 years. It's one of those stories. But man, it was so hard. I DNF'd this just because like I could not stand it. I just couldn't. When I read something, I get into a groove and I get into a vibe, and I can start feeling and seeing, the characters in the story. But I just never got to that point with this story. Obviously, you do know it's gonna be a romance, but I'm like 50% in, and I'm like, okay, how is this going to develop into a romance? And then, as you guys know, if you've watched my videos long enough, like, I don't love stories that have like parent death in them. Like, I can't stand that. And that was obviously like a very heavy focal point of this story, and so I was already like initially turned off to this book, and it just kept going over the same things, and just yeah. So and then the editor, obviously, that she's going to have some kind of relationship or situationship with, ends up dying because he comes to her as a ghost. And I do feel like if you read this story, you'll be able to find out what the plot is, because this book might be somebody's cup of tea. I don't want to ruin it. But I had my hypothesis of like what the plot twist was gonna be. Plot twist. And then I read reviews on GoodReads, because once I DNF'd it, I was like, I can't be the only person who's feeling this way. And my hypothesis was correct. What I thought had happened with the male main character did in fact happen, and it was going down that road. So I just, like I said, I could not get into this story. I couldn't like catch that vibe. Maybe if it was another day, or if I was in another mood, maybe this would have stuck with me. But life is too short to like get hung up on stories that you're like not 1000% feeling. Okay, so the next book that I read, I gave one star. Let's get into it. Also, please don't judge me, because I don't know what I was thinking, but I read Daddy's Angel by K.A. Knight. I've heard so many amazing things about K.A. Knight and their writing and their stories, and I am a smut girly. I will tell you time and time again, I love a good smutty book. Like, just give it to me. But so I kind of walked into this story with extremely high expectations, because so many of my other fellow smut lover girlies are like, these are the books that you need. So I was like, okay. So the story is about Lexi, who is dating a guy named Justin, who is like a total douchebag, doesn't respect her, doesn't appreciate her, doesn't like her pretty much. And she falls in love with his dad, Tyler, and they fall in love with each other. And once Lexi and Justin break up, I don't actually remember I don't remember how they the dad and the girlfriend get back like in touch. I'm trying to remember, but this book was so unmatched experiences, and it's honestly just a like very stereotypical smut porn book. Like, there was nothing magnificent about it, and it was so close to being DNF'd because there was no plot. Like, it just was, I don't want to say it was written poorly, but to me, I just feel like there could have been more. The author could have done more, could have put more effort into like building up the story. And, you know, because the dad's single, obviously, and kind of build that story up, and then like build up the past of the love interest, and like instead of just like him coming in, meeting his son's girlfriend and like being obsessed. And obviously they touched on like this being his son's girlfriend, and but it was like, oh, that's wrong, end of story. But they didn't really talk about like the conflicting feelings and emotions one would feel when dating their son's girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a gigantic plot twist in this story that comes out of left field, and then this incident then incites a third act breakup. And that's when I was like, at that point, I was like, maybe like 70% in. I was literally just scanning to the end, and then it's happily ever after. But every chapter, these characters are smashing, which is like fine, but it's honestly the same scenario every single time. Like, he's supposed to be like this dominating alpha. I believe the author even refers to him in the book as like an alpha, but honestly it's giving simp, and it had major cuck simp energy. Like, I'm just being honest. Nothing about the way that the author built up this character screamed alpha male domineer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I've read so many stories where you can just feel the dominance and like the rage, and you know what I'm saying, just how alpha a man truly can be. And I did not get that in this story, and maybe it's due because I love a brooding male main character. Like, I like them to be grumpy and hate the world and miserable, you know, and I just didn't get that. Obviously this is an age gap as well, and I just like, I did not feel the connection, I did not feel the vibe. 1 star. And like I said, all of the spicy scenes in this book were the exact same. I felt like every time they hooked up, it was the same story, copy and pasted, literally like 10 pages down. And I don't know, I lost the plot, I lost the vibe to read this book. So it's a 1 star for me. So in the beginning of the month, I read Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez. This is part of a series on Amazon, and it is a novella. I read another one from this series that they came out with, which is like a Valentine's Day series, come to find out. I read it in November, and I really liked that one, which made me want to read the rest of them. So I read Worst Wingman. Worst Wingman Ever. So we meet the characters Holly and John. Those are our main characters. Holly is a hospice nurse who is actually taking care of her grandmother, who is on hospice and not doing well. Her health is failing, and this is like a very big undertaking for her. And a was so short that that's really all I can tell you. It was cute, but like I said, it's part of like a novella series, so it's very, very, very short, but cute. But also, I think the one that I read last month, The Exception to the Rule, that's what it was called. That was the best one. It was so short, but so jam-packed. Oh, love that one. But the Worst Wingman was pretty good. So after I read The Worst Wingman Ever, then I decided to read With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. And this is again part of the same little Amazon novella series. This is about Audrey Love, to be exact, and she has like this, not like a magical power, but a superstition that follows her, that whoever she kisses, then the next day they meet, or like the next day they meet the love of their life. So she's had this little superstition following her for her entire life, and her best friend, I believe his name was Red, is getting married, and you know, they go out. She's like his best man, and they go out, and she can't remember what happened that night. And then the next morning, her like arch nemesis, kind of, Theodore, comes to the door and is like, I can't find the bride or groom, like what's going on, what happened last night? And she's like, oh crap, did I kiss him? And the story goes from there. And should I tell you? I don't know. But it's just kind of following Audrey and Theodore on the hunt to find the bride and groom before the wedding, which is literally that day. They literally have mere hours to find them, get them down to the altar. And Audrey's just so scared because she doesn't know if she kissed him and then he realized that, oh crap, like I really don't love this girl that I'm gonna marry. So it was cute. Again, very, very short. It was so cute though, and I loved that. And I think I gave it 5 stars because it was like very short and just to the point and adorable. Okay. I saved the best. I saved the best for last. Oh my goodness, you guys. This book, I believe, no, so after I read the 2 novellas, this was like the first real book, not real book, but full, like, 300-page book. Actually, it's 232, my bad. But longer book I read this month. I read The Season of Secrets by Q.B. Tyler. Q.B. Tyler. I gave this book 5 stars. Oh my goodness. This book was so good. But let me tell you. So if you follow me on Instagram, I did post a little excerpt from this book to my feed. It made main feed status. It was too good for a story. It was just a little highlight of a really cute line in this book. But I posted that, and Miss QB Tyler herself commented on my post. Just me talking about how much I really enjoyed this book and I loved the characters. And she also shared it to her story, which I know is like so kind of not insignificant, but it just really meant a lot to me because I really love this book. And then for her to take time out of her day to like acknowledge how much I love this book. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm thinking about it. This is definitely one of those books that I wish I could go back and read and experience for the first time over again. So we meet Ray and Wes. Ray is Wes' assistant. They work at Wes is the owner of like this prestigious security company, and Ray is freshly out of college, give and take some years, or definitely give, because she's not that young. I believe she was like 22 or 23, and she is Wes' assistant, and her dad is a famous ex-NFL player, I believe. And so they work together, and at the Christmas party, they are just giving each other the eyes. They are feeling the vibe, and everyone in the office, one, thinks that Wes is a total dick, but two, they know that he likes Ray, and she's like, there's no way, like, I just do my job, blah 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 blah. He's like the most attractive man, like he could have any woman. And her friend is like, no, he has thoughts for you. But Wes has like made an agreement like within himself that he cannot make the first move, obviously, because he's older than her and he's her boss, and it would just be wrong. But at the Christmas party, he's telling her like, I want you, but you have to want me first. And so they end up like going home together. When she's like, I want you, I'm making the first move, he like drives her to his house, and they like spend the night together, and their love just like blossoms from there. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, that is such a cliche ass age gap romance, but the writing of this book, the writing of the characters, and like the vibe, and just like the setting and the storytelling in this book is honestly, to me, what made it so amazing. I felt like I was the characters. I felt like I was in this story with them. And then obviously there are things that they have to work through together, like working together, and then her father, because her mom like left them when they were kids, so she was raised by her dad, who she loves a lot. And then there's like the age gap, the whole age gap situation, and like them working through that. But like, this was so good. It was so spicy, and the spice was always different and exciting and new, and just like the plot, the build up, everything was so good. I gave this a book a 5 out of 5. I loved it so much that I am saving all of her other stories to read, just because like once I read them, that's it. Like maybe she'll come out with something else, but she's just such an amazing author that I'm like, I gotta preserve these books. So I loved it. Okay, that is the end of this reading wrap up. It was, I don't know, was it a good month? Was it a good month for you? I loved the Season of Secrets, so that book alone, even though we had a few duds in the group, that book alone made this month so good. I didn't read to my fullest ability this month, but still had a great time. As always, let me know below what you read this month. What was your favorite? What was your least favorite? Let me know all the tea. And I will see you in the next video. Sending you love, light, happy Easter. The solar eclipse is coming, and also Mercury's gonna be in retrograde, so don't love that, but I'm just sending